What's going on, guys? And welcome back to the Journey Podcast. Today, I have a client of mine, Kaethe Losefsky. I got the name right, correct?
Yeah, you did.
Awesome. Kaethe is a business savage out in Arizona, just 19 years old, dropped out of college, is making $10K per month consistently. And she's obviously going to be like the next big thing in fitness. Like, we're growing her business to 20K months plus, and we're going to take it even further from there. So Kaethe, without further ado, welcome to the podcast. I would love for you to just give the listeners an introduction as to who you are, what you're up to, what your life looks like, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Kaethe. So I'm 19 years old. I'm from Chandler, Arizona, and I joined PTBI, I think 7 months ago now, really not too long ago. I think it was in May of 2021. And now I am a full-on college dropout, but I am a successful business owner. I am making over 10K a month and shooting for about over 20K this upcoming summer. And I now have 2 VAs working under me and also an assistant coach and looking for a closer. So everything's worked out really well. My day-to-day life, it's good. I really don't do much. I work for a few hours. I text Zach and tell him how bored I am. And he's like, dude, it's fine. It's good. But yeah, my life is the gym. I work out. I help my clients. And that's really it. So.
I love it. Let's go ahead and talk about the whole college story because, I remember when you and I first got connected, you had dropped out of college before you and I met, correct?
Yeah, I was just transitioning into it.
So what exactly was your intention with school? Why did you drop out? And what were you going to do? What were you going to do in the meantime? Because it's not like you were starting your coaching business when you dropped out of college. Like, what was your plan?
So I knew that I wanted to go into it because I coached with Jen. And so I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm going to just take this time to learn, to grow, and just truly fully invest my time because I didn't really want to have any distractions. And I really don't know why I dropped out. It was very much an impulse decision just because I was so miserable and I was really not having a good time. I mean, I was in college during COVID, so it was really frustrating to not have that college experience. Mm-hmm. And I just wasn't in something that I loved. I was majoring in speech and hearing science because I don't know, it sounded cool. And I really had no sense of direction. And it really hit me when I sat down and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to be in $60,000 in debt and I'm a server at a breakfast restaurant. I don't want to do that. And so, I got introduced to Zach and he showed me hey, if you do this, this is how it's going to go. And so once I had the discovery call with you and then I watched the video and that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to drop out and I'm going to fully invest. So.
Oh, amazing. So I didn't realize that you dropped out after we were connected. I thought you had dropped out and you were kind of just chilling in your bedroom for a couple months.
No.
Just chilling.
No.
What did your parents say? Because I remember when you and I had our call, obviously you got to talk to your parents. It's a big decision. You're dropping out of college. Even the decision to go to college and get $60,000 in debt is a big decision. So what was your parents' support system like? What were their beliefs? And, were you scared at all?
I was definitely scared just because I'm a very school-oriented person. I take pride in, my grades and stuff. And so for me to make this decision to not be in school, that was really foreign, especially to my parents, because my siblings aren't very big school people. So I was the one that was supposed to go to Stanford. That's really how it was going to go. And so my mom was really supportive of me. She was like, I want you to do what you want to do. She didn't go to college, so she kind of knew how it felt and everything. But my dad, on the other end, my parents are very supportive in whatever I do, but my dad's very quiet. He's very you have no idea what's going on in his head, but it means a lot when he talks and stuff. And so he wasn't super happy about it. He didn't really express it, but you just knew that he wasn't happy. And he was like, well, can you at least go to community college? And I was like, okay, I'll make you a deal. If I don't make blank at this time, or don't have this many clients, I will go to school. And he's like, at least get your business degree. And I'm like, okay, fine, I will. And then I guess it wasn't that long, 3 months down the line, I was like, hey, Dad, can I have your accountant's number? And he was like, for what? And I was like, my business? Like, and then he was like, oh, like, okay, for sure. And so then he kind of just like stopped asking the question. So
Beautiful. Okay, so yeah, you kind of proved it to your parents that like, hey, you can be successful with this. What do they think now? Now that you're 7 months down the line, did they expect you to be as successful as you are? Did you even expect yourself to be as successful as you are as quickly as you were? What does that look like?
so my parents, like, I think as a parent, you always, you want your kids to be successful, and you know that they will be. And so there was no doubt in my parents' mind that I wasn't gonna be successful or whatever that may be. But I think it's nerve-wracking because no one truly understands like how much money you can make. And I think that's like what hits everyone when I tell them. Like, I don't really tell people how much money I make, but when I tell them everything, they're kind of just like, what? Like, I didn't know it went that deep. Like, I had no idea. Um, and so yeah, I really did not think I was gonna be that successful. Like, I think I had faith in myself, but I guess at this rate, like, I wholeheartedly, if anyone, because you offered me one-on-one coaching, I think you were like, you threw it out there and I was like, I'm gonna take it. And so if I didn't take that from you, I totally would still be making, I would have no faith in myself because you drastically underestimate your potential when it's just you. And so having someone like you behind me being like, no, like, you're going to do this, you're going to be successful. I think that was when I was like, oh, like, I can do this. So,
I love
and
it.
then, yeah, my parents now are just kind of like, how many clients did you sign today? Like, they're so for it. So it's really cool.
Amazing, amazing. And then you have siblings too, right? I think with myself, I have a younger brother and a younger sister, and they're a little bit younger than your siblings are to you. But at the time, I had no guidance and I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. And so they always saw me as like, oh, the burnout older brother that always gets in trouble. Oh, he got expelled from college. He's working as a busser. And so that was my identity for a long, long period of time, when in the back of my mind, I was like, no, I know that I'm more than this. And it took me until I was, 23, 24 before they actually like saw me as something other than the burnout older brother. But for you, you are young. You just got like, you
Yeah.
still have like, you have a new impression. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how do they see you when they see your business being successful, and you still live with them too? What's that like?
It's good. I mean, I hate saying this so much, but I've always been like the standard setter in the family, and it's only just because of school. Like, I'm just a rule follower, and that's how it's always been. But um Steven takes it, he's like, let me do your money for you. Like, he's like my finance person, so he like weasels his way in there. But I think they're proud. It's, I don't talk to them about it that much, and they don't really ask me questions, but they'll be like, oh, Kate the fit. Like,
Love
they
it.
they support me in like the different manner of that.
So here's my question for you.
Mhm.
How did you get into fitness, and what made you decide that you were going to become a fitness coach? And then also, how did you learn become a fitness coach? Because you didn't go to school for it. So like, what was your process of learning like, and at what moment did you decide, oh, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to fully commit?
So it was during COVID. So honestly, COVID really, like, everyone always says it, but COVID like really did change the path for me, because I truly feel like if we didn't have COVID, I would have stayed at ASU because it would have been in person. I would have just done what society has always been, the standard that it sets on everyone. But I had kind of just gotten tired of lockdown, and I was in school, and I was just in a really low point. And so I was like, Jen was my coach. So I followed her for a really long time, and I was like, you know what? I need to get a coach. Like, I need to do something. I've always loved fitness. That's always been like, in high school, I was like, I did the senior award things, like most likely or whatever. I got
Yeah.
like the fitness one. So like, I've always, fitness has always been like in my life, but I never had like a structured plan for it. And so actually, now that I remember, I was actually supposed to compete in a bodybuilding competition. And
Mm.
what fueled the fire and like got me kind of to my lowest point was I had a coach. It was like a very well-known coach in Arizona, and I was doing it, starting to go into prep, and then COVID hit, and then we were still continuing like behind everything, like going to the gym really like when no one was there. And then one day he just like ghosted me, and I was like, oh, what the heck just happened? And I did not take it well. I got like really upset by it, but like it also fueled everything in me, because I was like, I'm going to prove him wrong. Like, I'm going to become really successful, and he's going to look back and be like, why didn't I have her on my team? And so that's when I reached out to Jen, and then Jen coached me, and I truly got to see like, okay, like the lifestyle balance of it and just how Jen ran everything. I loved it. And I loved how it made me feel. It completely transformed me as a person. And I was like, I want to do this for people. So it kind of hit me like mid working with her, because she mentioned it to me. She was like, you would be a really good coach and like you should try it. Like she's like, I would hire you as my assistant coach if I didn't have one. So I was like, maybe I should try it. And so then I took some girls on for free, some of my friends, and then I loved it. And then I reached out to you.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, here's my question. You learned through, working with Jen, also working through coaches. That's what kind of taught you about training, nutrition, also your own personal experience. What did you learn about business over the last 7 months that, really stood out to you that you're like, oh, that makes much more sense now after the fact than I would have anticipated before getting into it?
So mm, that's hard. I feel like it's just very small things. Like it's really is the small things in your business that add up. And one, like I think confidence is a massive part in running your business. You have to be confident in yourself. Even if you're not in real life, like you have to just for like full send, like literally full send everything that you do. And then another thing too, is I feel like people put their business on the back burner and they don't realize if they just dedicated a little more time, like for me, like I was like serving still, and it was just kind of like fully transition into this. Like you're working 4 hours a day serving and you're making like, I don't know, like $12 an hour. Like you could use that time to learn and then eventually transition into calls, and in that hour make $700. And so you taught me that. So like the biggest thing that I've learned in a business is time is money. Like I look at everything now as like money, and not in an unhealthy way, but like when to hire someone on, okay, when is it time to take something on for yourself? Um, and again, too, I guess with business is like, don't let age define you. Don't let what other people say define you. Like you just have to do it. So
Amazing. Yeah, I think I'm right up your alley. I know exactly what you mean by time is money. And also what you mean is like you don't see like you're not thinking about money, but like you then understand the value of your time. That's what it is. It's like your time is so valuable. And when you have a high income skill set, like being able to coach people and also learning how to sell for yourself, all of a sudden the floodgates completely come off and you're like you're limitless on how much money you can make. But I want to know exactly what that means for you. So can you explain a little bit about what the value of your time means to you and how that actually applies into your day-to-day life with like some examples?
So I think one a big transition for me was like actually hiring new people on, because like I got to a point where I maxed out at like 35 clients, and like it wasn't until we did that activity of just like, hey, here's what you're doing in your day-to-day life, and like it is valuable, and like you can grow your business so much more if you just let loose a little bit on the reins and really turn towards your strengths. So like I wanted to go more towards like obviously the sales aspect and make that money and hire an assistant coach on. And so I guess like the value that I got from it was just like, it's okay to not do everything in your business. And you go, you let loose. Like, I guess that's like what I can say is like, we were talking about like emotional stress today, and like, that's like at an all-time high right now. But I really got to see like, oh, it's okay to hire someone to do my DM outreaches for me. And it seems like a lot of money to pay someone, but in the long run, like your time, you can turn that value towards something else and use your strengths. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, absolutely. I think it's perfect. And I think for a lot of people, so most people who are starting listening to this podcast are just getting started with their business. And so they haven't quite gotten to that scaling point yet, which when it's ready to scale, that's when your time, like that's when you really need to start like checking your time. But when you're just getting started, I don't think people realize the value of their time that's spent on the business versus the value of the time they spend just chilling. Like when you're chilling on TikTok, watching TV, or hanging out with your friends, you're literally getting paid $0 per hour. If anything, you're losing money at that point. But if you can invest that into like learning sales and growing your business, you can make upwards to $1,000 in 1 hour, sometimes even 30 minutes. If you got three calls, you can make $3,000 in an hour and a half doing those tasks. And so if you just understand what's your highest income task and you just start doing more of those things on a day-to-day basis, you are going to make more money in your life and in your business. But I want to switch gears here really quick. I know there's two things that you're really good at. Number one is content, growing online. You've built your page up to almost 20,000 followers now. And the other one is sales. You are probably one of the most skilled saleswomen I've come across. And so I want to talk to you. What's your strategy for social media? What's your strategy for growth, and branding yourself and all that kind of stuff? Like, what's your approach?
So honestly, I don't have like, I guess, a set approach as probably I should, quite honestly. But again, consistency. Consistency is a massive part of it, and really just getting yourself out there. I always think to myself, like, okay, what would people want to see in me? And two, like, obviously the interaction. So like you want to interact with as many people as possible, in terms of growth, in terms of engagement. So like on TikTok as well, like you have to put out stuff that people want to see. It's quick, it's fast paced, like, that's what's going to help you grow. And you just have to put stuff out there all the time. You'd be very surprised, like how many people just want to see your life. Like, I can't even begin to explain. Like, I think my life's so boring. Like, I do the same thing every day, but everyone's like, I love your content. I love what you do. I love when you talk. And so I always think of it like, of course, like people think that, oh, I have to have followers to get clients, but no, that is not the case whatsoever. You just need to, one, put yourself out there. So like you have to build a relationship with the people that are on your Instagram, like give them access to you talking, give them access to you being vulnerable, especially from a women aspect. Like women connect with you being vulnerable. And that's why too, like I started the podcast. Like even if you're just starting being a trainer, like start a podcast or like do something to where people can fully understand you, and like that's how you're going to grow. So honestly, forget the followers. Of course you want that, but you want to connect with people. So really think about, okay, how can I reach these people? What are some things that they're struggling with? And they're 10 times more likely to sign with you. So that's my strategy for growth.
Yeah. And if I can give some insight from the outside looking in, because I watch and consume your content and I kind of dissect it in a way, you, as like knowing you personally, you're a very strong girl. But your content is branded as like the heartbreak warrior, right? You do have a personal brand of like the heartbreak warrior of like, and that's great because so many people can relate to that. And so people are looking at you as like the leader in that aspect because you branded yourself like that. And you're also showing them that like, you can overcome this and, you're stronger than that. And I think that's really, really huge. And you play it really well. So I just wanted to give you props for that. But when it comes to sales, what is your approach to sales? When you first come, because you're a young girl, you're 19, getting on Zoom calls with other people, selling yourself for the first time. What was that like the first couple times you've done it, and what's your perspective on it now?
It was bad. The first, the first time I started sales, just because like it's nerve-wracking. Like I'm 19 years old and I'm talking to people that are like 30, like they're older than me, and like that's really intimidating. But I think like my perspective on it then was like, I don't like this. I don't like selling. I'm not good at it. I'm never going to be good at it. And I truly do think that like there's some people that are just born, salespeople, they love it, but it truly is a skill. And it's something that went off in my head really quick when I invested into this, is like, you could be the best person ever, but if you can't fully convince someone that they need this and that they should do it, they're not going to sign with you, even if they have one very minor thing too. And I think that goes back to like the heartbreak and the trouble. It's like a lot of people think that when they invest in a coach, it's hard. Like they have to commit so much time to it and they're too messed up, they're not dedicated enough. And I think that letting people know that you don't always have your shit together, like that encourages them to come into it and say, hey, like this is for you, because it shows you that you are capable, and I go through the same things as well. So I guess my perspective on it now, it's like, one, it's a confidence game. You have to be really confident in yourself. And two, you have to play to whatever they're struggling with. So like have your basic script, but be very open-minded, be very considerate about what they're telling you.
I love that. I love that. And that actually kind of goes back to a point that happened to me yesterday. I was in a conversation with one of my clients, and she was just, telling me that she was struggling a little bit just because she was getting so many ghosts in the DMs. And I was like, dude, I can't tell you how many freaking ghosts and even blocks I'm getting this month. And she's like, oh my God, it makes me feel so much better that, you know, hearing it from you, it makes me feel like I'm not a total failure. I'm like, no, we all go through it. And so showing that vulnerability and showing that relatability online is absolutely key. But when it came to actually developing your skills in sales and building that confidence, what were some of the biggest tips that you learned along the way that helped you the most?
So a big game changer for me, and I actually just learned this from actually your stuff. I very like analyzed it and everything. So one, always do a discovery call. It doesn't matter how, in my opinion, how established you are. Everyone just wants to feel comfortable with you. So if they trust you in that 10-minute call, it's a great way to get them onto the sales call. And that too, it's a great way to qualify someone, because someone can be interested in it, like they want to hear about it, but it doesn't mean that they're going to want to sign with you. So my best strategy would be, get to know everything, ask them the questions, but at the very end of the call, when you schedule, say, hey, I'm really excited for tomorrow, but is it okay if I ask you a few questions before I let you go? They'll be like, yeah, like no one's ever said no to me. The very first question you ask them is now a good time for them to get started if the call goes well? If they say no, there you go. You saved 45 minutes of your time. You can come back. And then the other one too, you say, hey, if the price is right for you, are you ready to invest in a coach? And they say yes. Or if they say no, you can say, ask them about the payment plan, see what they say. And then after two, they can't pull, do you need to talk to anyone beforehand? If they say yes, no, okay, talk to them before the call or have them on the call. So that way you're pre-qualifying them and you can use that as tactics in the sales call. So because a lot of those are all the objections in a nutshell. It's just finances. Are you ready? Do you need to ask anyone? And then when you get them on the sales call, you talk for a few minutes and then you ask them the same exact questions right before you dive into it. And so by the end of that, and then you ask them again, kind of at the end, and then that way they really don't have like any excuse. So
Yeah. No, I think that's excellent. There's a lot of people that go back and forth on two call versus one call. I am a one call or I'm a two call closer to the day I die, and I will never deviate from the process. Even if I feel that they can go straight to a one call, I'm putting them on a two call anyway, just because the process is where the sale is made. If you just stay loyal to the process and you just consistently refine that process, you are going to be a better closer. Because I find that most people that go through ruts, most people that start off really hot and then have like a really, really hard time with closing is because they try to shorten the process and
yeah.
skip steps. When those steps, like you're saying, that's where you're able to handle a lot of the objections before you ever even get to the price or ask for the sale, um, which is huge. But I wanted to switch gears really quick. I want to talk about Conquer Community. So Conquer Community is the team that you started. It's the brand that you started. One thing that I really like that you did is that you did not let the name, you know, be a huge deal, because you didn't even name your business until like last month, right?
No.
Yeah, where you're like 7 months into your business and you didn't even name your business until last month, which is a great name, by the way. But what exactly is the vision for Conquer? Where do you see it going in the future, and what do you want it to represent? When you think about Conquer and like the brand of Conquer, what exactly speaks to you?
So I think I liked conquer because it's a very powerful word. We want to conquer things. We want to do it with drive and passion. And so I wanted to do it because it's a little bit of a play on words. So once you have a lot of people come into your program, they want to feel like they belong. And so if you strategically say like, hey, what are we conquering this week? On this month, we're conquering, like anxiety or food fears. And so people can put into that and they love it. They love the little like involvement thing. Like I've seen this guy, he calls his clients thrivers. It's called Thrive. They call them thrivers. And so it really like encourages people to be more involved. And like my vision for it is to literally like honestly take over. Like I want to have I want to hire another assistant coach. I want to hire different types of people. If you're really struggling with mental health and you don't necessarily want to work on fitness, more of a life coach. And to get to a point where like I can reach all levels of people, because sometimes people really can't afford the program. And so I want to get to a point where like I get on a sales call and you don't leave the sales call without me giving you some type of way to help you. That's really my goal, again, is like to get people as involved as I possibly can, but like use that power to continue to evolve.
I love that. And where does that vision come from?
Um, I think it probably just comes from like, again, taking everything one step at a time. I always say 1% better. And so like obviously conquer, like I was at a point where I was like, I can't do this. Like I don't believe in myself. And I think you feel the same way too. And I've sometimes even now, but it's like, okay, what can I conquer today? Like this is it. This is what I can do. If I can conquer this one thing, then I'm good. And so that's kind of where it stems from, is again like having power, but also, set yourself up for success, even if it's that one thing today.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, I know you and I worked together one-on-one for a little bit, and before then you had been kind of coasting your business. I don't even know exactly what you were doing on your day-to-day. But very shortly after you hit a 10K month.
Yeah.
What do you think made the difference between coasting in your business and hitting that 10K month?
Probably really just locking in, and I do really well when I have someone beside me, and like again, it's okay to ask for help. And so I think for you, like as a mentor, you did a great job of giving me very small tasks to hit, but they made a massive difference. I think people, when they do stuff on their own, they get very intimidated, very stressed out because they feel like they need to tackle all these things. But when you have a mentor, someone behind you just saying, hey, this is on the agenda for this week, do it, like just do it for this week and you'll be great. And that's what really like switched gears for me, was one, because now the financial investment too, like I was spending a lot of money on it, so why not get the most out of it? And two, like I had a role model, I had someone that I wanted to be the best. Like that's kind of the mentality. And then two, just you gave me very little tasks to hit that really made the difference. So
Beautiful. I love it. And for all the PTBI students that are listening, come to the coaching calls every week. Seriously, come to the coaching calls every week. We can break it down step by step. It'll be so easy. Like those coaching calls seriously make such a big difference. Now, there was one more question I was going to ask you, but it totally slipped my mind. Yeah, it slipped my mind. But is there anything that you kind of want to leave the listeners with? Any words of advice or any tips that you have that you want to share that you feel called to share?
I have so many, but I feel like it's hard to kind of go into it. But one, I would say, I don't know, this is the thing that eats me alive, is I feel like I'm never doing enough. And I want people to know, like, you are doing enough. If you can truly look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I happy with where I'm at? And if that's a no, do more. But again, like the whole entire goal is to have 4-hour week, have 4-hour like work weeks or whatever it's called. And two, like, again, have a good support system there. I can't even begin to tell you, like, that's a massive thing. Actually, that's my thing I'm going to leave with people, is if someone or something is not supporting you, leave them at the door. Like once I changed my friend group, once I got involved in PTBI, it changed the way that I viewed life. It changed the way that I viewed myself. And that was truly what gave me that kickstart. So if you're ever even questioning a friendship or relationship with someone, it's time. It's time to find new people. And everything that you're doing, even if you feel stuck in your business right now, everything is transitory. You're always going to get out of it. It's not going to remain. So just keep getting better 1% every day.
I love it. I love it. That was really good advice. And again, for all the students that are in PTBI, come to the coaching calls. We got you. The support system's there. Kaethe, what is your Instagram and how can people find you online?
My Instagram is kaethe.fit, KAETHE.fit. You can find me on the Instagram search handle. I also have TikTok, Kaethe Fit. I have a podcast, Letters to Me podcast. Watch that too. It's pretty fire.
Oh yeah. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.